Hello witches, and welcome back to Activist Twitch, where we discuss witchcraft and activism. You can call me Isha, my pronouns are she, they, and today's video we're gonna discuss Agatha All Along, again, in view of the fact that Disney decided to sell us witches back a tarot deck inspired by the TV series, as if we missed how anti-feminist, patriarchal and Zionist supporting the Palestine genocide it is. So let's go into it! But before we get started, let me remind you that I've opened a Ko-fi, which is an alternative to Patreon that takes less from creators. And if you like what I do here, you can support me directly there with a recurring donation every month, a one-off donation, or even get a tarot reading with me, Italian style. The low-income option starts at £5. And part of my profits from tarot readings go split equally between Coaches to Gaza, who supports Palestinian refugees evacuate to Cairo, and the Good Law Project, who's trying to bring trans rights back to the UK. So if you'd like to support me there, thank you so very much. Right, I've noticed that if we had forgotten that last October, Disney literally took our tradition and culture and made a casserole out of it, distilling the concept of feminism from the lens of patriarchy, selling it back to us through the Agatha All Along Disney Plus TV series. Now we've been reminded because a tarot deck has been published with the support of Marvel and Disney, and they're trying to sell it back to us, which is so funny to me. But you know, maybe there's a lot you don't know, and if there is, by all means, I've made a video essay specifically on Agatha All Along, the patriarchal lens of Marvel and Disney, considering the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You should give that a watch. If nothing else, because here I'm gonna blabber, and there I have sources and quotes, and you can literally get an understanding of how Marvel and Disney and stories and narratives and TV series and films are all part of the media propaganda machine, which is not to be conspiracy theorist like it's media theory actually, and you can literally see the way that it shapes your vision of the world, especially for things you don't know firsthand. So that is, consider it a very quick overview of a critical theory of media course with a specific lens through the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Agatha All Along specifically, because, you know, it's a witchcraft channel as well, so that seemed like the perfect lens and excuse to discuss those things, which indeed has fooled a lot of us witches as well. Yeah. I have 3 points mainly to discuss in this video. One is the issue of money, and where do our money go? And we should put our money where our mouths are. The second point is that Disney genuinely tried to sell this to us as if it's a feminist TV series, which is so ironic. Literally, they deconstructed feminism and sold us back the patriarchal view of white feminism back to us, and some of us ate it up. And I do not blame it on bad intentions, I blame it on ignorance, and hey, that's why I make these videos, to educate a tiny bit more so that hopefully you will not be fooled by good marketing like that again. And the third point is Zionism, because Disney is on the boycott, divest and sanction list, and all the possible Palestinian organizations have begged us to focus and do not give us money and do not support the work of Disney because it supports the Palestinian genocide and Zionism. So these are the main 3 points that I'm gonna discuss with you today. The first point, because we are discussing the entire thing because of the tarot deck that is being published, is money. Where does your money go? Vote with your dollar and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, in late stage capitalism, money is still the thing that affects everything. Where we put our money, where we spend our money, that money goes places. And with Disney or anything endorsed by Disney, it does support, amongst other evil things, the Palestinian genocide at the end of Israel. And it's also supporting the Zionism behind the entire idea of the Israel colony to just take the land of Palestinian people. We're going to go more in detail on that, on the Zionism and BDS part, but just very quickly, there's this deck now, and if you've watched Agatha All Along, and I hope if you watched it not on Disney+, you know that there's an episode that's based on tarot, and the tarot deck that is used there had imagery that was related to the characters within Agatha All Along, and they immediately realized this is merchandise that we can sell back to people ideally millennials, because the entire show was made for millennials. I go in detail in the video essay, you can go there and check it out. But yeah, the entire show exists to sell us merchandise, because it's the only thing that they can still get money from us for. Millennials are the generation that cannot buy a house, cannot have stability, but still has enough disposable income and enough nostalgia for a time where it's not that things were better, because we were already well full into neoliberalism, but when we were promised that we would have had a stability that would allow us to have, I don't know, a roof over our head, food on our table, paying the bills, and having healthcare in a way that doesn't send us necessarily into debt or debt. So, you know, we have nostalgia for a time where life had a tiny bit more dignity, not much, but a tiny bit more. And so it's very easy to sell us stuff, making us think of that time. I think Deadpool and Wolverine did that for guys that were millennials, with all the music from the 90s, and Agatha All Along did it for as femme-identifying people, not only with the idea of the witch, but because there were a lot of references, and the age itself of the characters and of the actors that played the characters in Agatha All Along, they were the teenagers of the 90s. I mentioned it in the original video essay. Catherine Hahn, who plays Agatha, is a year difference from Fairuza Balk, who plays Nancy in The Craft. So if you look at it from you know, a marketing, a semiotic perspective, it's very, very obvious the entire marketing machine behind Agatha All Along. The music, the song of The Witch's Road, was coded in a certain way by people that had coded music that way before, the people that wrote Frozen, the people that wrote Coco, because they knew that millennials are a lot on social media, and a way that you distribute ideas and news about content is by using music in reels. When you use a trending music on a reel on Instagram or on TikTok, your piece of content is seen more, and therefore The Witch's Road was literally built just on that. Everything around Agatha All Along is studied in a marketing way to sell us something. And the tarot deck is completely obvious. Like, I'm surprised actually that they didn't think about it and sell it to us back in October when the series was out. The deck is openly saying that it's endorsed by Marvel and therefore Disney. It has all the characters of the series, you know, scattered around. I think it's based on Rider-Waite-Smith. I've only seen it on like online pages that sell it. And yeah, there are a couple of points of what it says in the description that made me genuinely go, it genuinely feels like they see us as the frogs in the pot of water, thinking that we will not notice when the temperature goes up. It's just so bizarre. So this deck is promoted and declared to be, yay, we have Marvel Studios support. Marvel and Disney are on the BDS list, so ideally you boycott them. So why they think that's a good thing? I don't know, they expect us to be ignorant, I imagine. And then it goes, oh, it's good because tarot popularity, and this publisher has already published tarot. Again, because probably has a connection to Disney, the tarot of The Nightmare Before Christmas and Hocus Pocus, and it's like, oh, we sold thousands and hundreds of thousand units. Again, not a good thing. A feminist icon, this upsets me the most. Catherine Hahn reimagined a decade-old character with a modern sensibility that resonated with women. Her portrayal taps into themes of power and agency that align with the growing interest in witches and neo-paganism. I swear this description is written by ChatGPT as well. So I discuss specifically again in the video essay how anti-feminist the entire series of Agatha All Along is. The main thing that comes to mind is that moment where they summon the Green Witch, and Agatha goes to give definitions and characteristics that they hope this Green Witch will have. And Agatha, who is this middle-aged white woman, says, and let her not be super political.
May she be smart and not annoying. And also not super political.
Because it's funny when we make a woman say that. Because it's funny when we put something that is intrinsically anti-feminist in the mouth of a woman. making her say that because it implicitly gives it credit, it gives it value. I mentioned it before. It's like when in Emily in Paris, we made the Chinese character criticize China.
No, you get more than one shot, Mindy. In China, you only get one kid.
And so it makes it sound like it's valid. If one of the people that should support this actually criticizes, then it's valid. Always remember, the authors are not the characters nor the actors. And the fact that we call these feminists in the way that we make fun of feminism throughout the entire series, one of the main things that, again, because it's a marketing product, to sell us things, not just to make us watch the TV series, is that on the surface, the veneer of Agatha All Along has all this diversity peppered around. We have representation of women of color, women of a certain age. Wow, we cast women over 30. Isn't that amazing for feminism against ageism? Awesome. We have queer representation, we have queer baiting, realistically, because the way that...
Come on. You love it. The anticipation. Heart. You don't have a heart.
Yes, I do. It's black. And it beats for you.
The supposed love story between Agatha and Rio is portrayed, actually not only goes nowhere, but by the end of the series just reinforces the trope of kill your gays. If you show a gay character, the only way in which they can be portrayed is by suffering the ultimate sacrifice, which is dying, which is exactly what happens. Spoiler alert.
Looks like you two are finally on the same page, so I'll let you decide. One of you stays with me, the other walks free.
There are all these ways in which the veneer, the packaging is given, when ultimately the message of Agatha All Along, unfortunately, is exactly like I predicted. Like when I did the video essay, we had 6 of the 9 episodes out, and I said, mark my words, I think that the way that they are selling us this, the message that Marvel wants to give us with this TV series, is that the only way to redeem a woman that is a witch, that has this lust, therefore, for power, and she shouldn't have it as a woman. The only way to redeem a woman like that is through the only value that patriarchy sees in her, which is being a mother, because that's what patriarchy needs women for, the next generation. Believe me, if they could do without us, they would. So when you see it like that and you understand that, admittedly what the series ends up with is Agatha sacrificing herself, dying, because kill your gays, to become the protector of the one cis white boy in the entire series that turns out is the actually really only powerful person in all of these. So
Let's go find Tommy.
So you have this beautiful group of women. We try to depict their power, we try to depict their independence. The entire story that they go through is the making of this boy, of this kid, that has more power than all of them together and can't even control it, but poor thing, he's not bad, even if he can control it, and even if the way that he cannot control his power actually kills 2 of the witches that are women.
I'm a murderer. Alice!
Well, I killed Alice.
Lilia, in the tower.
That was her choice.
Mrs. Davis!
Who?
She didn't even belong on the road, and now she's dead because of me.
Yes, the gardening lady.
Agatha, I killed them.
If you want to be a witch, get used to this feeling.
That are women. And we still believe that this is a feminist story, when the moral of the story is Agatha also needs to die and to redeem herself, become the guardian, the protector of this cis white boy. Because who needs more protection than a cis white boy in this culture, hey? Also, one of the most important things that I feel needs underlying, and it's not that highlighted even in the series, is that with Agatha sacrificing herself to save the cis white boy, she loses her power, which is the main thing that we demonize witches for. Power. Even in the witch trials, what we feared was power. That power in the witch trials was the independence of a woman. How dare you be independent in any way? So I think that this deserves a tiny bit more of attention, and we have been very distracted because of the superficial feeling that they were telling our story or trying to be feminist. There's a cast full of women. How is that not feminist? Because the protagonist, ultimately, the person with the most power, and yet the person that needs to be protected, is the white cis boy. Yeah. Tell me again how feminist this is? Anti-heroes are trending! Honestly, when you write the description of your product and you're having ChatGPT write it for you, ChatGPT and all generative AI is evil, is stealing the work of people without their consent, and is using a bottle of water per query. So it's bad for climate change, and it's bad for artists whose work was stolen. So don't use AI. This clearly has used AI for this description. In a divided world, I wonder who's dividing it, anti-heroes serves as compelling lenses for exploring conflict, empathy, and self-reflection, making Agatha a timely and relevant protagonist. And also, every witch needs their tarot. Marketing. What are you? Are you a real witch if you're not buying tarot? Capitalism for you. This is offensive. Andrea Hanna, who's I think made also the other Disney-inspired decks. I know that we all need to live and make money in late-stage capitalism, but trust me, we can still do it in a way that preserves our dignity and our ethics without dancing on the bones of others. Which brings me, now that we have discussed feminism accidentally, to the second point, which was put your money where your mouth is. We vote with our dollar, don't we? Okay. How do I do this softly? Because I'm also don't like the role that I've accidentally fallen into in the last few months of calling out people in the witchcraft community that usually for ignorance. I'd like to believe ignorance before ill intention. There is someone that has shown open ill intention, but most of the time ignorance makes people support evil things. Support Eurovision, support Harry Potter, and I've tried to educate these people. When they haven't listened, I've made my audience know, hey, these people support Eurovision, who supports the genocide in Palestine, so be aware of that. Hey, this person supports Harry Potter, who's been written by J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling is spending every penny that she has from Harry Potter and everything else to try and destroy the existence of trans people here in the UK and in the world. And living in the UK, I'm personally affected, so I know how bad it is. And she also says, everybody that ever talks or shares about Harry Potter, I consider as if they are directly supporting my ideas, which include TERFism, trans-exclusionary radical feminist. She's a gender critical. She believes trans people should not exist. And indeed, she has put her money behind that. Because the last UK Supreme Court ruling against the existence of trans people, and no, trans women are not women, 70,000 of their pounds were behind that. We talked it about in the Illegal Women video essay, so go give that a watch, because this is part of what I mean when, you know, evil people, fascist people, TERFs, they are putting their money where their mouth is. We should do the same, because our entertainment is not as important and the right to exist of marginalized people. In the case of Disney, other than the fact that they have made an absolute joke of feminism, peppering around again on the veneer of Agatha All Along, all this progressive stuff when the core message is still the fundamental patriarchal idea of women need to step away, step back, and just protect the boy. If that was not enough of an insult, Disney again is on the BDS list, which means the money that goes to Disney directly funds the genocide in Gaza at the hands of Israel. You know what? you're gonna listen to me for the few minutes that I had in the video essay, because I explain it better there than anywhere else. Disney is on the boycott, sanction and diverse list, and Palestinian people have directly asked anyone that wants to support them to boycott Disney. A few reasons as to why include:
Disney has come under fire for direct support of Israel, in addition to the $2 million CEO Bob Iger pledged in funds for humanitarian relief in Israel after Hamas's horrific terrorist attack, specifically Magen David Adom and Red Crescent societies. Iger said that Disney will match up to $25,000 in charitable donations from employees. Yet, the CEO has only reached out to Jewish Disney staffers in particular.
Palestinians call for widespread boycotts of Marvel's 2024 film Captain America New World Order unless it drops Sabra/Ruth Bat Saraf, its superhero that personifies the apartheid state of Israel. The character's backstory includes working for the Israeli government and occupation forces. By reviving this racist character in any form, Marvel is promoting Israel's brutal oppression of Palestinians. We encourage creative, peaceful protests to challenge Marvel Studios and its owner Disney's complicity in anti-Palestinian racism, Israeli propaganda, and the glorification of settler colonial violence against indigenous people.
And hey, since then, Captain America Brave New World actually was out. Sabra, the character of Ruth Bat Saraf, was still portrayed in it by an Israeli actress that was born in Tel Aviv, so a settler on occupied land. So, just so you know, it's not that things have changed, it's not that they have done anything to do reparations for what they have done. They stand by it, they are Zionists, they are supporting the genocide in Palestine at the hands of Israel. They are supporting Israel. Okay, got it? Good. Because Agatha All Along was marketed to the middle-aged white woman that has discovered spirituality and witchcraft, some of the marketing that they did was involving witchy content creators to make content to promote the series. And that was an issue. That was a real issue. And when it has been addressed and presented to the people that did this within the witchcraft community, it was shrugged. It was shrugged. And the answer that people got when they pointed out, wait, but by supporting Disney, you're supporting the genocide. How can you do this? How is this not ironic? You said you were on the side of Palestine. And all this criticism was dismissed just by saying, hey, this is my job. This is how I make money. And hey, part of this money will go to Palestine. So, you know, better that it comes to me, this money, so that part of it goes to Palestine instead of nothing at all. Where do I even start to explain the issue with that? I think that the way that I can explain that is actually by naming the name of someone that has put their money where their mouth is. And that person is Kellyanne Maddox. So, Kellyanne Maddox of Rebel Witch and Witch in Darkness fame is also, thank goodness for her, a very great supporter of Free Palestine. And she's been very loud about it. And she's been knowing and doing that longer than I have. I have understood the issues with Palestine since October 7, and I'm Arab. So, you know, there's always time to solve your ignorance, because I was ignorant and I'm very loud about it. I didn't know anything else other than it's a complicated issue. They both have rights to this land before October 7. Also because I was raised Catholic, and I think it's impressive to discover that there are more Christian Zionists than there are Jewish people that are Zionists. Because of absurd thoughts about if the Israeli people go back to the kingdom of Israel, then the rapture will come, judgment will come. Oh my God, what is worse? What is worse is any kind of religion that becomes a cult. Spoiler alert. Because I was raised Christian Catholic, they fooled me. They made me believe that, oh, you know, maybe it's a complicated issue because Kingdom of Israel, we studied it in Sunday school. We are talking about thousands of years ago. So from thousands of years ago, both these people have this entitlement to this land. Don't they? No, they don't. Israel has a current project, as the state that exists since 1948, is actually been taught about only since 1897, which was the first Zionist Congress in Basel, and in the years before deciding that Israel would have taken over Palestine, they actually considered states in Africa. The UK actually gave land, was ready to give land in their colonies in Africa to the state of Israel. They considered Argentina and South America. They considered a lot of places to create ex novo this state. So when they claim that the claim that they have over Palestine, not only it's millennia old, but also Palestine does not exist, a land without people for a people without land. Not true. There's a beautiful, actually, series that either The Guardian or Channel 4 is doing, which literally makes you see how Israeli settlers are bullying and scaring out and killing people that do not leave their land, their house, Palestinian people. I'll link it down in the description below, because the only thing that has happened since October 7 that it's making our collective consciousness wake up to the real issue in Gaza, which is the colonial project of Israel. But yeah, Kellyanne has known this longer than I have. That's the short version of it. And Kellyanne, a few months ago, discovered that her publisher, Watkins Books, is owned by a bigger company whose head of is a Zionist, supports Israel, supports the Palestinian genocide, and so she knows that every book of hers that is bought by anyone, part of the money goes to support Israel and the Palestinian genocide. And she asked people to boycott her own books until she finds then a solution, I think a new publisher. Do you understand how honest and ethical that is? She is taking a personal hit when she realized that part of her income, part of the money that she lives off of, the money from her books, her babies, I can't imagine what it is to have a book out with your name. And then you have to tell people, do not buy it, because part of that money, other than the money that comes to me, part of that money will go funneled to support Israel and therefore the Palestinian genocide, and I cannot in good conscience allow that, so do not buy my books. So when you have an example like that, and then you have content creators tell you, oh, but this is my job, and at least the money that gets to me goes partially to Palestinian families. Other than the fact that it ignores completely the fact that if they hire you to promote something, the money that they care about, that Disney cared about, was not the money that they were paying you. It's the money they will make from Disney Plus subscription because you have promoted their TV show. So whatever they are paying you that because they know, or they hope, that the promotion that you do to their product will actually bring in more money to them. It's capitalism. You spend less money than you hope you will get back, and so you make a profit. That's the profit for them. They invest money to pay content creators to do content because they expect the return from that, the subscription from that, because you promoted their stuff, to make them more money that they gave you. So when you tell me that, oh, at least the money that they paid me went partially to Palestine and Palestinian families, you're completely ignoring the fact that more money is going to Disney, which means more money will go to Israel and in support of the Palestinian genocide. So if you think that that's equalizing the scales, no, it's not. Disney will always have more power than you, and therefore will always have more money to funnel to Israel in support of the Palestinian genocide. The very least that you could have done was not giving them a means to actually get more money through people that were reached by your content and therefore likely subscribe to Disney Plus to watch the TV show Agatha All Along. And it's very hard for me to say this because, contrary to popular belief, I don't like to be this contrarian figure in the witchcraft community. I like to do my thing I like to educate people. I like to tell you things as I discover them, and hopefully I make them simple enough for them to be accessible to everyone, because accessibility is super important to me. A lot of my life was spent in ignorance because information, important information, was not accessible for me. So this is why I do this, not to pick up feuds with people, not to fight people, but in these, I was going to say unprecedented times, but realistically, again, history is cyclical, and we are just in a phase of great fascism. Fascism is on the rise. And if we don't name the evil that is going on, how are we going to understand why it's wrong, and how are we going to make sure that that's not repeated? So, yeah, that's the issue. I've been a content creator for 15 years, mainly on YouTube. So I understand what it is to make this your livelihood and to depend on the money that comes from YouTube or from sponsors and advertisement. But there still is an ethical choice to be made. And I've sat on this for a while, and I was like, it's just better to focus on the positives. But because we are talking again about Agatha All Along, because this tarot deck is out, I cannot in good conscience say nothing about this, especially having seen the good example of Kellyanne showing us what an ethical choice is. Because there's also, and this is the last point on money and put your money where your mouth is, there are levels of dignity and survival that don't need to be chasing wealth. And this is going to be controversial, but what I'm talking about is lifestyle. So I can vaguely imagine the amount of money that a superpower like Disney was able to pay a content creator to make promotional content for Agatha All Along. And I know that when you fall accidentally into the situation where you are a content creator by trade, it happens by chance. So a lot of people can start making content here on Instagram, on TikTok, thinking this will be my job. You thinking and you working on it, no matter how hard, it's not a guarantee that this will ever become your job. You need at some point the gods of the algorithm to bless you and decide to elevate and show your content around, and that's how you get numbers, and from numbers you get enough views constantly that you get a paycheck from it. But it's accidental, and my personal feeling after having done this for 15 years is that being a content creator should be treated the same way that people bet on the stock market. It's good that it's there, you should never count on it, because it can turn around like that. People that ever feel entitled to whatever they get as a content creator because it's their job now, sooner or later are gonna wake up to a very dire discovery that it's when the gods of the algorithm turn their back on you, yeah, your day job is no longer there. And I don't know if it's entitlement, I don't know if it's short-sightedness. Again, because I've done this a very long time, I'm conscious of that. And when people treat this as a job that they are entitled to, it's not even malicious, it's just you're going to wake up one day and discover that you actually need a day job. And I don't like that. Believe me, like, as every artist, I don't like the capitalist idea of this is not a real job. It is while it lasts. But if you have the entitlement to this be your day job, I feel you haven't experienced enough of this to understand that it's not going to be. Believe me, it's not going to be. I hope it is for as long as possible. But if you try not to have that entitlement and consider whatever comes from here as a nice extra while it lasts, it will also help you to not make unethical decisions. Because when you feel like you are dependent on how many people are watching your videos, or because of numbers and the advertisement that YouTube pays you, or because of sponsorship and advertisement, and so, no, I need to take this when they offer me money, it cuts off your ability to make a genuine decision, because the decision is not based on your ethics and what you like and what you don't like and what you can support and what you cannot support. It's based on your need of money, and you think that bringing in money is your way to do that, and therefore your entitlement to do whatever you need to do. There are levels of dignity, and taking Disney money is a choice. And when I see other people, I see content that has made a choice. I see Kellyanne openly telling people, do not buy my books. And that has an impact on the livelihood of a person whose job is being an author. I see a lot of small YouTube channels that have made videos for 16 years. Vonnie comes to mind. I love Vonnie. I mentioned her here and there. I think she doesn't have nearly enough followers and views as she should. And she talks about her struggle in life, and that still hasn't prevented her from doing regular videos in the last 16 years. She follows a Wicca path, she talks about her experiences, and she talks about the struggle of her life. And she still makes the content because she wants to share her experience. She doesn't have the entitlement. I don't think she's monetized, despite the long time that she's made videos. And when you see that these are options, and then you see someone going with the entitlement of, no, if big money comes to me and all that I can do is being a content creator, then I have to take it, and I'll try to pacify you by saying part of that money goes to Palestine, without thinking more than that money that I will directly make to Disney will go to funnel the genocide on the side of Israel. We need to think about these things. And I don't want to think, I don't want to believe that there's maliciousness here. But at the very least, there's a huge level of ignorance. And ignorance can be cured. Ignorance is not a bad thing. Like, if the people that have taken this money from Disney were to understand the issue and apologize for it, which they haven't, like the justification that they gave at the time are not justifications enough. Do not do the self-criticism to understand the impact that they have had by taking this money. But if they were to, we're good. Like, there's this belief that you cancel people and you do one thing wrong and that's it. I think people forget that canceling, that now has a bad connotation, is boycotting. Is, again, putting your money where your mouth is. So that is based on choices. And if you stop making bad choices, there's no reason to boycott you. Which is why, and now we can go in BDS, BDS exists because of the Zionism of Disney. And BDS, the Boycott, Divest and Sanction list, exists exactly because of that, because putting our money where our mouth is matters. It's the only thing that matters into capitalism. Affecting people's wallet, affecting not people realistically, but CEOs' wallets and organizations and business wallets is the only way that they listen. And so what BDS does is focus on a few companies that directly support Israel and therefore the Palestinian genocide, and makes us focus on those. And it's like a handful. Disney is part of that, though. And what I think is really important to focus on is the fact that it's a handful. Because when we talk about boycott, one of the main ways of the capitalist system to make us lose interest and hope in fighting it is, isn't it really inconvenient? Now, these days, you're not able to do or say anything, and at this point, if you can just buy local, you might as well not do anything. It's all your fault anyway, so I might as well not care. Yeah, it's not like that at all. And that's why BDS focuses on a very few amount of brands. There's Disney, there's SodaStream, there's Sabra, the hummus, because it's made on stolen land. But it's not that many, so if you boycott those companies and therefore don't give your money to those companies, there's still plenty that you can still buy from, and your life is not affected, your quality of life is not affected, but you make a conscious choice. So believe me, boycotting is much easier than it sounds, and it literally goes along with the idea of the only thing that conglomerates will listen to is anything that affects their income. their profits, the profits for their CEOs and their shareholders. So it's the only thing that as individuals we can do. And Disney is on the BDS list for good reason. Again, I've inserted a bit from the video essay. But the ultimate thing is, it is a matter of personal choice. And after almost 2 years of uninterrupted genocide, and people would argue it's 70 years, and I would be on their side, since the arbitrary establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 on Palestinian land, on stolen Palestinian land, this has not stopped. Every time that you have heard of the situation in Gaza, how many times before the last 2 years have you heard that it's at the hands of Israel? They always made you believe between the lines that the fault was Hamas or therefore Arab people, other Arab people killing their own, just because of the original anti-Semitism of Europe and the US, honestly. They don't want Jewish people there, and so they have helped them create a state that is far enough from both of them, and also at the same time finally gives them a foothold in the Middle East, which is a very rich land, especially in terms of oils, which the US would like to put their hands on without having to pay. Like, just off the coast of Gaza, there are reserves of gas that are valued to be in the region of billions or trillions of value. Yeah, the entire point of the US being so incredibly behind Israel in the support of taking over Gaza is because that way they can get the gas. It's money, it's money, it's money. So, yeah, you know, it's important to know these things, and they are not obvious unless you do research, because it's not part of the headlines. And the issue of the headlines is a real issue, because information nowadays comes to us from 5 news conglomerates. In the 80s, it was like 140, 150 just in the US, or small companies. Nowadays, the agenda can be set very easily from the media because it answers to 5 people, Murdoch and few others. And their interest is perpetrating capitalism. And one of the fundamentals of capitalism is slavery. It's taking stuff for nothing so that you can make all profit from it. Stealing natural resources from the Middle East is one of those. So that's the motivation of the US to support Israel in very short, other than not having Jewish people themselves go far away enough. So it's actually the entire point of the anti-Semitism that is behind this, and therefore why you should learn that a strong part of Zionism is actually funded in anti-Semitism. Which is funny, isn't it, when they try to conflate anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. No, actually a lot of Zionism is intrinsically anti-Semitism, which is fun when they play with words like that. Honestly, watching Israel trying to scramble and gaslight us live for the last 2 years, I think the most recent thing is how every time that Palestinian people gather for the food distribution of the Gazan humanitarian aid that Israel set up, it's actually just a way to gather Palestinian people and shoot them as fish in a barrel. And every time that this happened, the Israeli government is like, oh, there was an exercise error, there was an electronic error in our plans. It's always a possible error, not like they keep continuing to lure Palestinian people in with the promise of food and then they just shoot them. So it's, as someone that has survived abuse at the hands of narcissistic people, it's a bit upsetting to see the media basically support the gaslighting narrative that Israel keeps on feeding us, as if with social media we didn't have proof enough on our phones from the people in Gaza that are literally telling us, no, they tell you that we are the bad people, but this is what happens to us. And you see people just shot for existing. And ironically, not that it's the first one that it started it, but 2008, Iron Man, the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Who are the villains? Arabs wearing keffiyehs. So if you're wondering why it's so important to wear a keffiyeh these days, that's the reason. Because forever, the media has tried to associate it with the bad Arab terrorists. And hopefully in these last 2 years we have learned that's not the case. Hey, this was me ranting. I hope that it taught you something. I hope that people didn't feel too offended if they felt called out. Feel free to reach out. We can have a chat. You want to make reparations for what you've done? Let's have a chat. I'm very happy to help. But there needs to be an awareness, an acceptance of consciousness of what's happened and the way that you taking money from Disney has impacted the world. And there needs to be an acknowledgement to move past that, which there hasn't been. If you've got this far, I really hope that you don't buy the Agatha All Along tarot. There are so many other tarot decks that are worth our money and attention and our support. And supporting Zionism, supporting the patriarchy, supporting the propaganda machine is not the way to do that. Please don't do that. And until the next video, I really hope that we can hex the colonial white patriarchy together, because isn't there need for it?